Gentlemen, I've heard a podcast by one of my most respectable man who is a dating coach, and he's an old school guy. His name is Matthew Cross. He runs a channel called 33 Secrets, and he was talking to another guy on things that matter to men, and they would matter to, eventually, if they matter to men, they should matter to the whole humanity. So, and one of the things that they recognized, of course, that the dating in 2025 is, of course, broken. And now we are probably at the worst point in our history that we know yet, in which the romantic relationship between men and women are non-existent. Partly, of course, because women's standards are ballooned by media, social media, by unrealistic expectations, and but in this case, we came to the point where actually it starts to hurt women themselves. We are at the situation where these feminist ideas went so far that women themselves find dating to be unattainable. They feel frustrated because they have high expectations, and they feel lonely because majority of time they spend with their girlfriends. And in these women-only settings, they normally lead the unproductive conversations and activities, which basically designed to kill the time, spend some time, chill. So unrealistic expectations. So like one of the girls I went to Russia 1 year ago, and one girl in Russia told me that my man needs to bring me, guess what? It's not $1 million. It's not a Bugatti. It's not even a mammoth, eh? No less than a head of the dragon. So basically, head of the slain dragon. Yeah, imagine the scarcity of the availability of dragons and the availability of pretty women. So this is how far we went in the expectations created, artificially ballooned for the women, not by the women. They are ballooned for the women to the point where. Well, you would think that, there is no end, but now they're talking about the man needs to bring me a head of the killed dragon. So that shows that if women are going to just follow this pattern that continues, we're basically gonna all, like men and women, we're all gonna fall into abyss, into abyss, and where we would have no kids. Artificial insemination is not gonna solve the problem, and we will cease to exist as civilization. And that's why no wonder that people like Matt Cross, people like his speaker on the podcast, even Matt Cross started to I would assume that unrealistic standards and expectations by women even hit Matt Cross, although he was always been considering to be one of the greatest dating coaches. I remember I was listening to his podcast, to his YouTube channel, 33 Secrets, and I even remember like 2006, 2005 when I first bought CD discs by one of the beginners of this whole red pill movement, black pill movement. You know, at that point, it wasn't red pill. It was basically dating coaches, picking, like in some, like in Russia, for some reason they're called pickup artists. You know, so his name was David D'Angelo. If hit a like button if you some of the guys are remembering this guy. So yeah, and so if these dating expectations, if this dating situation even hit Matt Cross, then things are really, really bad in 2025. Thus, they were discussing several things that one of them will consider to be really useful, to my opinion, and that would definitely change the dynamics. And they were talking about legalizing prostitution. So I noticed that in countries where prostitution is legal, the relationship between genders, sexes, is completely more normal and completely more calming. There's completely less aggression. There's completely less stress in between the relationships between genders. So I think it's one of the key points that needs to be done. Man needs to be having a freedom of choice where they can either pursue long-term relationship with a woman, or they choose having occasional sex for money and do their work. Because we are at the point where men cannot have sex, they cannot have relationship. Even men of high status right now, we came to the point where even for them, these expectations became too high. So if that's the case, then we're basically going to a zero-sum game where we would have no interaction between men and women. And of course, we all want to avoid that, right? So legalizing prostitution is a freedom. It's a freedom of profession for women, and it's a freedom of choice for men. Those men, and I agree that there are some men who don't want to pursue women. There are some men who have problems with looks, and they want to stay away from this dating game, but they want to sometimes have their occasional sex, and that must be done at want to clear that, reasonable price. Reasonable price. And then at the same time, women can do this, one of the most ancient professions that women always pursued. And it's a freedom of choice. Not all women are supposed to be born, having birth for babies. Not all women are supposed to be married or they want to get married. There are some girls who emotionally think like men. They're not emotionally attached. So they can be great candidates to do what, like what women did since the beginning of times. And right now, we think all these traces of prostitution on Instagram, on Facebook, where girls are showing their butts, their boobs, anything, lips. They're showing, they're basically sexually subverting men. And that's what they've been doing all the history, right? They don't want to work. Girls don't want to work. They don't want to wake up early and then go to work. Maybe some girls do. But majority of girls want to sexually provoke men. And that's what it's all about. So one of the things that they touched the base on is prostitution. And I think that prostitution needs to be legal in Canada, in the United States, everywhere, in Russia, everywhere. And you can see that the countries where prostitution is oppressed most are the countries with the most frustrated and unhappy people, period. And that is, one of these countries are Canada. And here, not only if you're using the sex services, not only it's a woman's fault, it's a man's fault for using, think about it, sexual services offered by a woman. So woman is put in this perpetual victim, while men are, just perpetual abusers. That needs to be stopped, guys. Everybody is tired of this.